Hi, good morning, and welcome back from spring break. I hope that many of you all have rested up as well as continuously practicing social distancing. Today, we are going to pick up where we left off before spring break with our introduction to Georgia's government. The first branch of government that you all learned about before break was the legislative branch, and that branch's primary role and function is to make and create laws. Today and tomorrow, we're going to learn about the executive branch in government, and their primary function is to actually enforce the laws that Georgians make. And then our third branch of government, which we'll learn about towards the end of this week, is the judicial branch, which is responsible for interpreting the laws that the legislative branch actually creates. So, our objective for today is scholars to be able to explain the qualifications for the governor and lieutenant governor and their role in the executive branch of state government. So, the executive branch is the largest branch out of the three branches of government, and its primary function and responsibility is to enforce Georgia's laws that were passed by the legislative branch. The executive branch in Georgia is headed by the governor. Another phrase for the governor is chief executive officer of the state. So when we were in class, we've always talked about the president being the chief executive officer for the entire United States. However, the president or governor of each state is the chief executive officer. The governor, along with 7 other elected officers and more than 100,000 employees, actually make up the executive branch in Georgia. So once again, it is the largest branch out of the 3 branches of Georgia government. In order to become a governor, a candidate must be at least 30 years old. They must be a U.S. citizen for at least 15 years. And they also have to be a Georgia resident for at least 6 years. In order to become governor, a candidate must win a statewide election by popular vote. So similar to a presidential election where you have people going in, whether they're mailing their votes or whether they're actually going to a polling place, they actually have to vote for the governor of their state. Once the governor is in office, he or she serves a 4-year term with a total of 2 consecutive terms allowed. So it's very, very similar to the presidential elections. You only can have 2 consecutive terms, meaning that you can only be governor for 8 years straight. So similar to President Obama, when he ran for presidency in 2008, he won. So he was president from 2008 to 2012. And then he ran again in 2012, and he was president from 2012 to 2016. Now, there are some distinctive differences between the duties of governor and lieutenant governor. So some duties that the governor is responsible for adhering to is the Georgia Constitution outlines the governor's formal powers and their duties. They include enforcing laws, appointing people to state offices, signing bills into laws, suggesting new state programs and laws, and proposing and directing the state budget. So the governor has a lot of duties and powers that he or she is responsible for. He or she also has the power to call special sessions of the legislature and can veto legislation. The governor is also the commander-in-chief of Georgia's military. So, for instance, if there was something to happen in our state, the governor has that right and responsibility to protect us. And if he needs to call in the military to protect our state, he will do so. Now, there are also some duties that the lieutenant governor is responsible for. And I want you all to think back maybe about a month ago when I first told you what a lieutenant governor was, and who actually was the first lieutenant governor in our state, which was Melvin Thompson during the 1946 governor's race between Eugene Talmadge, his son Herman Talmadge, After Eugene died, Melvin Thompson and Ellis Arnold, who was the sitting governor at the time, and there was like no law put into place yet. What happens if a governor dies? We later found out that Melvin Thompson, who was the recently elected lieutenant governor, it was his responsibility to actually take over the governor's duties and responsibilities if he passed away, and that is exactly what happened. But we also know that there was a special election that pretty much helped Herman Talmadge get into the governor's seat as well. But back to the duties of a lieutenant governor. The lieutenant governor serves as the state's second highest ranking executive officer and is first in line to take the governor's place. So if something was to happen to our governor today, and our governor presently is Brian Kemp, I'm sure you're very aware of him. He was the one who actually signed in the executive order for staying out of school until the end of the school year because of the coronavirus pandemic that is currently happening now in our country. Candidates for lieutenant governor must also meet the same qualifications as governor. So once again, those qualifications are they have to be at least 30 years old, they must be a U.S. citizen for at least 15 years, and they also have to be a Georgia resident for at least 6 years. Lieutenant governor is also elected by popular vote, but does not run on the same ticket as the governor. So if you were lieutenant governor, you did not have to run on the same ticket as the person who was running for governor. So that honestly opens up a lot more freedom for those who want to run for lieutenant governor. The lieutenant governor also serves a 4-year term, but there is no limit on the number of terms. So that is very different from the qualification for governor. Once again, the governor can only sit for 2 consecutive terms. However, the lieutenant governor can sit for an unlimited amount of terms. The lieutenant governor serves as governor if the current governor is unable to serve a complete term. As president of the state, he or she decides committee memberships and chooses committee chairs. The lieutenant governor is also responsible for any duties that which the governor assigns to him or her. So, right now, what you're going to need is to pull up your presentation on Google Classroom. If you have not, it is labeled as CG3 Branch in Georgia, Day 1. You see on slide number 2 that you have your introduction to executive branch. So as I read the slide, you're going to annotate it on your end. The executive branch in Georgia is headed by the governor. The governor, along with 7 other elected officers and more than 100,000 employees, make up the largest branch in the state government. The primary function of the executive branch is to enforce the laws passed by the legislative branch. And I also wanted to say that you feel free to stop this video at any time if you feel that I'm moving on too quickly for you. So just keep that in mind. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to click on this yellow seal, which will bring you to this reading about the executive branch. So I do want you to read this information, and you're going to read this information to be able to answer the questions that are on the next slide. Once you have read this article, you're then going to click on this blue here button at the bottom of your screen. It's going to take you to a video that is labeled as Georgia's executive branch. The video is about 3 minutes and 48 seconds. You're going to watch the video about the executive branch, and then you're going to go to slide number 3. You're going to use the information from the previous slide, as well as the article that you just read, as well as the video that you just watched, to answer these 4 questions. Please answer your questions in complete sentences. I repeat, complete sentences. You're then going to refer to slide number 4, and you're going to use the previous information that you learned from slides 2 to be able to fill in the blank. So once again, what are the qualifications for Georgia governor and Georgia lieutenant governor, their age requirement, how many years they have to be a resident of Georgia, and they have how many years they have to be a U.S. citizen, how many years is each one of their terms, and how many consecutive terms can the governor and lieutenant governor have. You also have listed here when election dates are, as well as duties that compare and contrast the governor and lieutenant governor. Once you have finished completing this table, you're then going to pull out the packet that I gave you all before we left for break, and you're just going to fill in the information for you all. I did provide the notes for you, so these are your personal copy of your notes. Feel free to go back to them when need be. And then lastly, your last slide for this particular classwork assignment is your Venn diagram. You're going to drag and drop the green tiles that are in the bottom right hand corner to the respective spot on the Venn diagram. And then last but not least, you will have your exit ticket, and the access code for the exit ticket will be in your presentation. I just wanted to close out this video saying that I do have office hours Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 1 to 2 o'clock. My meeting ID is 398-378-4659, and the password is 838498. I will post this as well on Google Classroom. If you have any further questions about today's lesson, please don't hesitate to reach out. Your slides for today are due by 11:59 p.m. as well as your exit ticket. See you all tomorrow. Bye.